Hello again and welcome to DanWhiteBooks, the book review channel where we add insights into the worlds of literature, both for those who do read and those who don't. I know I'm always late to the scene reviewing books that have won the Booker Prize. It was around this time last year that I actually reviewed The Testaments by Margaret Atwood, a whole year since it had actually won. Well, today, nearly 1 year since it won the Booker Prize in 2020, I'll be reviewing Shuggie Bain by Douglas Stuart. And well, this is one you're going to want to watch. Shuggie Bain is a book that has recently gained a bit of traction in the book charts, mainly because we are drawing close to this year's Booker Prize winner, with the shortlist already announced. Shuggie Bain took the title last year. Even more impressive is that this was the first book author Douglas Stuart has ever written. It's certainly quite the entrance into the book scene, and it's certainly very well deserved. Shuggie Bain tells a tale of a boy called Hugh, known as Shuggie, and his family growing up in Glasgow, Scotland. It is a brutal depiction of addiction, desperation, love, and despair. This is not a jolly read by any means, and follows the life of a small child growing up in an extremely dysfunctional family. The story briefly starts in the year 1992 before jumping back to the early 1980s, where a small Shuggie is a 5-year-old boy sharing an apartment with his two half-sisters, Catherine and Leek, mother Agnes, father Shrug, and his grandparents Wooly and Lizzie. The family is in crisis, with big Shug sleeping with women behind Agnes's back, and the kids crammed in a tiny space. Agnes takes to drinking to deal with her cheating husband and her unfulfilled and dissatisfied life. The family eventually move out of the grandparents' house and move into a housing scheme built for minors in the outskirts of the city, this being called Pithead. It is made immediately clear that this is not the wondrous place it was promised to be. I get the feeling this is the kind of book that can only really be written through real experience. It's a shocking and heart-wrenching tale about a boy who wishes none other than to save his mother from the deepening claws of alcoholism. The characters are beautifully detailed and come to life on the page, so much so that your emotions are swinging wildly as you hear the disturbing and darker tales to Mother Agnes's addiction and her son Shuggie's struggle to fit in as a normal child in this highly abnormal world. Even side characters like Shuggie's half-brother Leek and half-sister Catherine are detailed and sculpted brilliantly by the author. There are few, if any, characters from this book that I can't remember, whether it be the emotionally abusive and ever-absent father Shug or Agnes's later love Eugene. All are made in excellence and play beautifully, if often tragically, to the overall plot of the tale. The real highlight here comes in the parts that are hard to read, the sections that will make you think twice about ever abusing alcohol again. You see a mother sink to the absolute bottom of not only a bottle but a pit deeper than it is to imagine had you never been surrounded by such a circumstance. Author Douglas Stuart portrays the battle of addiction in a brutal and unforgiving manner, and is not afraid to write of the obscene and shocking side of a mother drowning her everyday reality in a wash of alcohol, shame, and regret. He details the desperation of her children and their want to help their mother no matter what, and he also near perfectly portrays the untangling of one's life as a whole when the only thought is when the next drink will come in. This also plays to a brilliant portrayal of a collapse in one's mental well-being and on how a person will outwardly blame everyone but themselves for the failings around them. Agnes, at her worst, will take no responsibility for her actions and will turn to pointing the finger at all those around her, even when they only want what is best for her, even when they are the people who care for her the most. You see a darker side to Glasgow in this tale. It's a gritty telling of how the lower classes and forgotten people live out their lives with a bare minimum. Addiction is rife and the worst in humanity is often laid bare, with people taking what they can and doing whatever is necessary to keep going. This made worse by the clutches of addiction. This form of life is often brutal, and Shuggie, for such a young boy, sees the worst of it. Sometimes as the reader you don't want to be there with him, but you persist regardless and experience an existence that is painfully sad and has such a yearning for true love, compassion, and understanding. The end of this tale had me in tears. It shocked me. It made me put the book down. It made me say words out loud. It drew all the pages together and slammed them flat down with a mighty crash. This is a book that wants to be noticed and a tale that needs to be told. It plays as fiction, but I highly suspect it is based more on fact, and that's very deeply saddening. I've never really had a book affect me quite in the way that this one did, and I can only summarise that the reason I felt such strong emotions was because of my connection to the characters. Shuggie almost becomes an acquaintance, someone you can't help but keep reading about. His mother is someone you can't help but feel sorry for, yet despise all the same. In honesty, this book is remarkable, and as such, with all things considered, I'm going to score this a 98 out of 100 and state that this book, up until this point right now, is one of the best I've ever read. It does not sugarcoat the despair and horror that alcohol can bring upon a family and upon an individual. It opens a door and lets you stay in a world that breaks your heart, and with a child who also does the same. A world that is bleak and never-ending, upsetting and tragic. And yet I enjoyed this work. I thought it was bloody brilliant. So hard, but so worthwhile, and I doubt I will ever forget it. It was pure empathy and pure truth. So I would with no doubt recommend this book, but be prepared to see the darkest of places should you wish to pick it up, and I would certainly advise you that it is very, very much worth the journey. However, it's not going to be a thrilling read. It's not going to be happy in certain senses. It's going to be very sad, but it conveys a beautiful depth of emotion, by far some of the best I have ever seen. Now, before we go, I'd briefly like to touch upon some questions that this work does raise, and I'd like to just ask you them now. I ask you this: should you attempt to save those who refuse help? At what point do you give up on someone? When do you lay down your arms, turn your back and leave? Or should you never? Should you always give to another your all, particularly a member of family, even in spite of everything they have put you through? Give them your all in the hope that one day they will find strength to finally save themselves. Is there a point where all hope is lost? Or should you continue to believe that one can fix themselves? I leave that with you, my fellow reader, and I thank you very much again for watching. I will see you here again soon. Bye-bye.